Like a storm brewing on the horizon, the tipping debate continues to cause waves across our dining experiences. We've all been there, that awkward moment when the bill arrives and you're left wondering whether to leave a tip or not, fighting against an internal battle of social norms and personal beliefs. It's as if we are caught in a whirlwind of confusion, trying desperately to find solid ground while navigating through this ever-changing landscape. But fear not, for you are not alone in this quest for clarity. Together, let us dive into both sides of this contentious issue. Those who argue passionately for abolishing the age-old practice, claiming it perpetuates wage inequality and fosters discrimination, and others who steadfastly defend it as a means of rewarding excellent service and maintaining livelihoods. In doing so, we aim to provide you with valuable insights that will help transform your inner turmoil into informed decision-making each time you dine out. So pull up a chair and join us at the table. After all, everyone deserves a seat in this conversation. Did you know that tipping has its roots when wealthy Americans would use it to flaunt their riches and elevate their social status? It is important to understand that it was not always a common practice. The word tip originated from the acronym to ensure promptitude, which was a way to incentivize service workers to provide faster and more efficient service. Tipping was mainly practiced by wealthy Americans who used it to display their wealth and social status. It was seen as a way to separate oneself from the working class and show that they had disposable income to spare. Leaving a large tip was a way of showing off one's wealth and generosity. However, after the Civil War, tipping became more widespread as businesses began to take advantage of this custom to avoid paying livable wages to newly freed slaves. Many newly freed slaves were forced to work as waiters or other service workers, and they were often paid very little or nothing at all. Tipping became a way for these workers to make a living wage, as they could earn more money through tips than they could through their base salary. Over time, tipping became more ingrained in American culture, and it is now expected in many service industries. Today, tipping is often seen as a way to reward exceptional service and encourage hardworking staff members. It is also a way for customers to show appreciation for the hard work and dedication of service workers. However, the practice of tipping is not without controversy. Some argue that it perpetuates inequality and unfair labor practices, as workers are often paid less than minimum wage and rely on tips to make a living. Others argue that tipping is a way to reward hard work and incentivize excellent service. Regardless of one's stance on tipping, it is clear that the practice has a complex and interesting history. The next time you leave a tip, you can reflect on the origins of this long-standing tradition and the various ways it has evolved over time. So next time you leave a tip, remember that you're taking part in a long-standing tradition with complex origin. When we think about tipping, it's important to consider how this practice directly impacts the lives of those working in service industry. While tipping can provide a means of earning extra income, it can also create uncertainty and inconsistency in wages. For many service workers, tips make up a significant portion of their income. In industries such as restaurants, where base wages can be as low as $2.13 per hour in the United States, tips are essential for workers to make a living wage. In such cases, tipping can be a way for customers to directly support workers and help them make ends meet. However, the reliance on tips can also create stress and uncertainty for workers. They may have to work long hours or deal with difficult customers to earn enough in tips to cover their expenses. Additionally, the practice can create a sense of competition between workers as they vie for the attention and generosity of customers. Moreover, tipping can perpetuate inequality and discrimination based on factors such as race, gender, and appearance. Research has shown that customers tend to tip more generously to servers who are white, male, and attractive, regardless of the quality of their service. This can lead to disparities in earnings among workers who are equally skilled and hardworking, but do not fit into these categories. To create a more equitable and inclusive environment for service workers, customers can make conscious decisions while tipping. Rather than relying on stereotypes or biases, they can focus on the quality of service and reward workers accordingly. Customers can also advocate for higher wages for workers and support businesses that pay fair wages and benefit. While tipping can provide much-needed income for service workers, it can also create inconsistencies in pay and perpetuate inequality. Being aware of these issues and making conscious decisions while tipping can contribute to a more supportive and inclusive environment for all service work. Also, the rise of technology has certainly made tipping more accessible and convenient. For the integration of tipping options into credit card kiosks and other payment platforms has made it easier for customers to add gratuities to their transactions without the need for cash. However, the impact of technology on tipping has also led to some unintended consequences. Some customers may feel pressured to tip more than they normally would when presented with suggested tip amounts, which are often predetermined by the merchant or the payment platform. This pressure to tip more can result in customers feeling obligated to overspend, which can put a strain on their finances. Moreover, the presence of tipping screens and prompts can lead to a culture of over-tipping, as customers may feel pressured to make a good impression or show appreciation for service. This can lead to a cycle of increasing tips as more customers are incentivized to tip generously in order to match the expectations set by others. Another impact of technology on tipping is the shift towards cashless transaction. As more customers opt for credit or debit cards, the presence of tip jars in cafes and restaurants has become increasingly common. While this may seem like a convenient solution for customers who don't carry cash, it can also lead to a situation where service workers are expected to rely solely on tips for their income. The impact of technology on tipping has made gratuities more accessible and convenient for customers. However, it has also led to unintended consequences such as pressure to tip more and a culture of over-tipping. As technology continues to shape the way we interact with service workers, it's important to consider the impact on workers and to make conscious decisions about tipping. The tipping debate has sparked countless conversations around dinner tables and social gatherings, making it a hot topic that almost everyone can relate to. In many societies, tipping has become an expected and normative practice in service industries. Customers may feel obligated to tip even if they are unsure about the appropriate amount or unsure if the quality of service warrants a tip. This pressure to conform can create stress and anxiety for individuals who may worry about being judged by others or perceived as stingy. Moreover, tipping can be a significant financial burden for some consumers. When tipping becomes expected, it can add an additional expense to an already costly experience, such as dining out or getting a haircut. For individuals on a tight budget, the expectation to tip can create stress and strain their finances, especially if they feel obligated to tip more than they can afford. The snowball effect of tipping can also contribute to a cycle of uncertainty and confusion around tipping norms and expectation. When more and more people tip, it can raise expectations for everyone, leading to a situation where tipping becomes more and more expected, even in situations where it may not be warranted. Tipping can create social pressure and financial burdens for consumers, leading to stress and uncertainty. It's essential for individuals to make conscious decisions about tipping and to resist the pressure to conform to societal norms. By being aware of the impact of tipping on themselves and others, consumers can contribute to a more equitable and sustainable tipping culture. By engaging in open dialogue about tipping practices, we foster a sense of community while working towards finding common ground and solutions for a better future. In conclusion, tipping has a long and complicated history that impacts both workers and consumers. While some may argue that it's an outdated practice with negative consequences for employees, it's important to remember the personal connection we can establish through this small act of generosity. As individuals who enjoy dining out or using various services, we must consider the human aspect behind these interactions. Moreover, by choosing to tip or not to tip, we have the power to influence how businesses treat their staff and compensate them fairly. We should strive to support establishments that prioritize fair wages over reliance on tips, but also acknowledge the current reality many services industries professionals face. Ultimately, the decision is ours, whether to perpetuate an arguably flawed system or actively work toward change in the way our society values hardworking individuals in the service sector. Let us all be mindful of our choices and empathetic towards those whose livelihoods depend on our willingness to give just a little bit extra when they go above and beyond for